Jesus' resurrection was almost certainly not a legend that developed over time. We can trace it back to the apostles themselves. For example, we can come to Paul, who was a skeptic, a persecutor of the church, then he became a Christian. Now, Paul knew the Jerusalem apostles. In Galatians chapter 1, he met with Peter, the lead apostle, spent 15 days with him. He also saw James, the brother of Jesus. In Galatians chapter 2, he goes up, he talks to these Jerusalem apostles. Peter again, he meets with James and John as well and ran the gospel message past them that he had been preaching these years. And he says they certified that what he was preaching was in alignment with what they were proclaiming. And that gospel message included the death, burial, resurrection, and appearances of the risen Jesus to them. In fact, we have an oral tradition that Paul says he received from these apostles in 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verses 3 through 7. And he says it talks about the death, burial, resurrection, appearances to Peter, to the 12, to more than 500, to James, to all the apostles. And then in verse 8, Paul says, he adds his own name to the list and says, last of all, Jesus appeared to him. So this goes, and then in later on he says, whether I or they, the apostles, this is what we preach, and this is what you believed. We have Clement of Rome, who was probably a follower of the Apostle Peter, and Polycarp, who was probably a follower of the Apostle John, who knew these apostles. And they speak of Paul in very laudatory terms, Polycarp even saying that Paul accurately and reliably taught the message of truth. So it would appear that we can get back to the apostolic preaching of Peter, James, and John, all the leaders in the Jerusalem church, people who had known Jesus, who were proclaiming that Jesus had risen from the dead and had appeared to them. And this comes, we can know, from the eyewitnesses. So you could accuse them of hallucinating or deceiving, but we can't say that it was a legend that developed over time.